Okay, estudiantes, so we know two past tenses in Spanish, right? First we did preterite. Preterite is the tense with all the crazy accents and the cargar-zars and the J group and all, the I to Y, all that stuff. And then imperfect is what you just took a test on today, much easier. It's got the aba or the ia endings, right? And it only has the three regulars, okay? But they're both past tense. So if you want to say, I went, or you want to say, we were studying, which one do you use? So that's what this presentation is going to cover. Okay, first we're going to talk about reasons for the preterite. You already know how to conjugate all the verbs in the preterite. You already have notes on that. Okay, now you're probably going to have to refer back to them quite a bit because you probably don't have it memorized. Do that. Don't be lazy. Okay, so your first preterite reason would be one-time completed actions in the past. Okay, so here's your example. Mi esposo y yo fuimos a Disney World el verano pasado. My husband and I went to Disney World last summer. That is a one-time action. Happened once. It's done. It's over. End of story. Next, actions that occurred within a specific time period. So, mi hermana vio Dora la Exploradora por 5 horas. My sister watched Dora the Explorer for 5 hours. Now, time periods are often introduced with por, as you can see happen here. There it is, 4 or 5 hours, okay? The length of the time period is not going to matter, okay? Now, it would be helpful to know units of time. So you have horas, which means hours, right? You have semana, which is a week. You have dia, obviously, which is day. You have año, which is a year. You have mes, which is a month. Okay, so those are a couple of the common units of time periods. Okay. Next, if you want to put the focus on the beginning or the ending of an action, for example, la fiesta empezó a las 8 anoche. The party began at 8 o'clock. Okay, the focus of my sentence is on something beginning. Okay, in that case, again, I will use the preterites. You can see empezó, look at that ending, that's preterite ending. Okay? Or you wanted to say, the party ended at 1 o'clock in the morning. That would also be in the preterite. Okay? If you have an action that interrupts an action that's already in progress, that will go in the preterite. So actions that interrupt, interrupting actions, these go in the preterite. So your example is, I was doing the homework when the fire started. The fire starting is absolutely an interrupting action. Okay? If the fire starts on the stove, oh no! Flames, okay, you better put down your homework and either call the fire department or put it out, grab a fire extinguisher or whatever, but you're definitely not going to sit there and keep doing your homework when a fire starts. It's an interrupting action. If you tell me something's an interrupting action, you need to also be able to tell me what other action it interrupts. So in this case, it interrupts you doing your homework. Mental, physical, or emotional states that have already changed to something different, these will be expressed in the preterite. Okay? So, here's your example. Ayer estuve triste. So here's your verb in the preterite, estuve, okay? Pero hoy me alegro porque salgo con mi novio Ryan. So yesterday I was sad. That's my mental state. That was yesterday. But today I'm happy because I'm going out with my boyfriend, Ryan Gosling. Me being sad, right, that already changed. It changed when I put in this verb, I am happy. So sad was yesterday, wah, wah, okay? But today, so happy because I get to spend time with this guy, okay? So that was a mental state I had in the past, but it's clear that it already changed to a different emotion. Hence, I use preterite. Okay, next we're going to move on to imperfect. And again, you already know how to conjugate in the imperfect. That's already in your notes. You may need to refer back to them, but that you already know. Okay, so reasons for using the imperfect, if an action is repeated or habitual. Okay, so mi familia siempre jugaba bolsos. My family always played bags at summer parties, right? Here's the thing. You have to know your trigger words for something being repeated. Siempre is always. That's a key word. If you skip that word, you're not going to get that the action is repeated. Okay? So some of the other important words to know for repeated or habitual actions might be mucho, right, which is much or a lot. Muchas veces, which is many times. Cada, which means each or every. Okay, if you put cada in front of a word like dia or cada semana or cada año, right, each year, each day, each summer, that's going to make something repeated. A lot of words that end in mente, watch out for those ones. In Spanish 1, you were taught these are adverbs, right? Frecuentemente, frequently. If something is frequent, it's repeated. There's a lot of these, things like frecuentemente, usualmente, usually, generalmente, generally, típicamente, typically, normalmente, normally. So a lot of these words are going to indicate that something is repeated. Definitely watch out for those. Okay, if you are describing the personality or appearance of someone or something in the past, descripción, okay, you will use imperfect. So yes, this is an actual old school picture of Señora when she was little. La Señora Shields era alegre de niña. There's me, like I have the same face. Yeah, she's pretty happy kid, okay? Now, remember, you already know this. We just did a whole project where you described things about yourself from when you were little. What was your nickname? What was your favorite color? All that stuff. That was in the imperfect, so it makes sense that this would be. Okay, when you tell time, okay, you describe the date or you tell the weather in the past, these are going to all be in the imperfect. So your example, eran las 11 de la noche, it was 11 o'clock at night. Era el 24 de diciembre, it was December 24th, or hacía mucho frío, it was very cold out. Here's the thing, if you're telling time in the past, you must use the verb ser, okay? Telling time in the past means it was blank o'clock. That's what it means to tell time in the past. Okay? If you say, I went to the store at 11 o'clock, that's not telling me the time. That's telling me a one-time action that you did. So don't get lazy and think just because I see 11 o'clock in my sentence, it's going to be imperfect. You have to read the whole sentence and understand what it's saying. Okay? So remember, too, okay, when you're telling time in the past, you're going to use that plural form of ser, eran. Right? The only time you would get to use era is if it was 1 o'clock. Era la una. Otherwise, it's going to be the plural form for sure. Okay? Now, weather expressions, too, you learn these in Spanish 1, but it's been a while. So let's review. Hace frío, okay, which in the imperfect would be hacía frío. You also have hacer calor, right? It's hot out. Hot. You have llover, which is to rain. You have nevar, which is to snow. You have hacer fresco, like it's chilly out or breezy or brisk, I guess we would say. Hacer sol, right? It's sunny out. Things like that. A lot of weather expressions use hacer. And then you also have these two really important verbs, to rain and to snow. So make sure these make it into your notes. Background actions or actions in progress go in the imperfect. And these are usually translated as was or were blah blah ing. So for example, los chicos de One Direction bailaban. They were dancing when Harry Styles fell down. Right? Were dancing. That's how we translate. Okay, it's what was happening. And then bonus points if you recognize that Harry Styles falling, that's in the preterite. Oh, and we talked about that earlier, and it would be because that's an interrupting action. Because, right, if they're dancing and Harry Styles falls, well, it's going to interrupt their flow. They got to pick him up. They got to make fun of him, whatever they're going to do. Okay, so the background action, was or were, blah, blah, ing, goes in the imperfect. The interrupting action goes in the preterite. Okay, and then again, we come to mental, physical, or emotional states, but when we use the imperfect to describe them, it means they have no defined beginning or end, no time period. So Mufasa se sentía muy alegre cuando Simba nació. Mufasa felt very happy when Simba was born. Okay, is he not happy anymore? Is he still happy? How long was he happy for? We don't know any of that. So because we don't know that, that's why we put it in the imperfect, se sentía. And you should be able to recognize by looking at the ending of that verb, ia, that's an imperfect ending. Okay? So if we're practicing, again, the examples are here, but hopefully you would be able to reason this out. Caillou, right, era mi programa favorito cuando era niño, right? This is going to be imperfect because you're describing. Caillou was my favorite program when I was a kid. I spent 3 weeks in Italy this past summer. I use preterite here, passé, right, that's the yo form, because that is a specific time period. 3 weeks is a beginning and ending period of time. Pedro veía, that's in the imperfect, so, and it's a background action. He was watching ESPN when the reporter announced the scandal. Okay, that's going to be with preterite because it's an interrupting action. Okay, and lastly, this sentence, a veces mis amigos y yo, sometimes my friends and I played soccer in the park when we were kids. This is going to be jugábamos, imperfect, because again, a veces tells you sometimes, which makes it a repeated action. Okay, come to class tomorrow with any questions you have.